Is it just me, or does motorcycle suspension feel like something like dark magic? Like, none of us know how it works, but we all understand that it has the power to totally transform our motorcycles. Well, because of that, in today's video, I'm going to be opening up the metaphorical witch's book to finally, once and for all, understand motorcycle suspension as a dummy. Now, I don't want to just learn about suspension. I want to be able to feel the difference in suspension. And to do that, I have booked a full day up at Andreani USA, which are like some of the best suspension people in the US, and they're only located like 3.5 hours from me. And I'm going to get them to totally set up my suspension on my 2026 Aprilia Tuono 660 factory. That way, I have the best chance at winning the Aprilia Creator Grand Prix, where I'm racing against Jake from Spice Corner and 650 Ebe in a few weeks. There's only a problem though. I have no idea about suspension, and I would like to avoid looking like a total dumbass when I go up there, so that they're not asking me all these questions and I just give them a stupid face. So before I head to those guys, I thought to myself, let me jump on a phone call with my buddy Joe. He kind of nerds out about suspension. He's not a suspension pro or anything like that, but he's just really researched the topic, so I'm going to jump on a call with him, and that way he can give me a rundown of the basics of the stuff I need to know. That way when I roll at Andreani, I'll have slightly idea what's going on. So guys, this is actually episode 6 of the Aprilia Creator Grand Prix, and it's just a series where me, 650 Ebe, and Jake from Spice Corner all have Aprilias that we get to modify, and that we are going to go to New Jersey Motorsports Park and race them to see who is fastest on their Aprilia. Now, for me, I'm kind of just racing for bragging rights, but for you guys, we have collected over $50,000 in prizes that you guys are racing for. The more points you have, the better chance you have at getting some of those prizes. So here's how you guys can get some points. Go to creatorgp.com and sign up for an account. It does not cost you guys anything. And then with this being a Creator GP video, I'm going to be having codes sprinkled throughout the video. There's going to be 6 total, and they're going to look like that. You're also going to hear that sound effect. When you guys hear that sound effect, a code is on the screen. Pause the video, go put that code in on the website, and you will get points. When you guys comment on the videos, when you guys like the video, all of those are points, and the more points I get, the better prizes I get to give away for you guys. So obviously I'm a competitive dude. I want to win the first ever Aprilia Creator Grand Prix, but more importantly, I want you guys to get the best free stuff possible. We're talking about airbags from Alpine Stars, cameras from DJI, Bluetooth communicators from Cardo. Bro, every company I love product from, we have signed up for the Aprilia Creator Grand Prix, and it's all up for grabs for you guys. So yeah, make sure to sign up, use all those codes, and get us as many points as possible. Team Chase gotta win this, because as of right now, today, we're currently in second place. 650 Ebe is currently beating us, and that is unacceptable. I need you guys to rally behind us. We need to get this win.
Guys, I have my favorite suspension nerd and buddy of the channel, Joe Jackson here, who, as you guys probably know, is our California correspondent. So I need you to run me through, just give me the here's what you need to know to not look. I don't want to ruin my relationship with these people before I meet them. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Because I don't want them throwing words around, because, you know, I'll do the guy thing, or I'm like, oh, yeah, the SAG. Oh, yes. Set that.
We all know what he's talking about, right?
Yes. I don't. So, okay. So we don't gotta go deep. I just want to know what you need to know, some easy stuff. Give me what you got, Joe.
So yeah, what I want people, like, yes, the suspension is a black magic in its own right. And I want to put this disclaimer out here first. I am not an expert. I am not a mechanic. I am not qualified to answer hyper-specific questions. What I am is a person who spent their entire lockdown obsessing over motorcycle suspension and learning how it worked. And I've spent the last several years figuring out how to adjust my suspension to my riding style. Suspension's main job is to keep the tire in contact with the ground. So there are 3 components to what can affect, again, simplifying heavily here. The 3 things I like to focus on when it comes to making adjustments to your suspension are springs,
Okay.
compression damping, and rebound damping.
Okay.
So, all you need to know is that every suspension fundamentally works more or less the same way. People get a misconception that adding preload makes the spring stiffer.
Right.
It does not do that. Adding preload, all it's doing is preloading that spring so that to start moving through the spring, to start its collapsing, you need more force at the beginning. So it is a good way to make small changes.
Okay.
It is not a good way to make big changes.
Okay, so this was super interesting. Like Joe was saying, I always thought that if you increase the preload, it just somehow makes the spring stiffer, but that's not the case at all. Think of it like a normal spring. The more you push it together, the harder it is to keep pushing it together, right? Basically, preload is just pre-squeezing your spring, meaning if you want to force it to work, it'll take a stronger initial amount. This makes total sense why on fancy bikes that can increase and decrease the ride height, all they're doing is electronically changing the preload, which will raise or lower the bike because the rear shock is getting squeezed or preload added.
When we talk about damping, there's 2 kinds. There's compression and rebound.
Right.
So our spring is what allows the wheel to move up and down, right? But compression and rebound damping are what allow us to control the speed that wheel moves up and down.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, compression damping and rebound damping can be thought of like we're going over a speed bump. Compression is going to affect us on the first half of going over the speed bump. We roll up to it and our suspension is going to get compressed upwards as our front tire hits it and gets to the top. Compression dampening is going to affect how fast or slow our tire moves to the top of the speed bump. From the top of the speed bump back to flat ground is where rebound is going to affect it. It kind of helps me in thinking that rebounding is kind of like returning or going back to where it is on neutral ground.
I like to look at it in 2 directions. Compression, which is how quickly or the speed at which your fork or shock collapses, your suspension shortens.
Right.
And then rebound, sometimes known as tension, which tells us, it allows us to control how fast our wheel returns or extends back to its whatever length the spring is keeping us at.
Okay.
Right? So think compression is up, rebound is down, or in and out.
Okay.
Collapse, expand. Breathe in, breathe out.
Right. So how does damping control speed? Well, turns out it's all about oil. Inside of your fork and the shock, there's oil. When the suspension moves, this oil has to be pushed through tiny little holes and valves. So compression and rebound clickers are basically just adjusting the size of these holes. A tighter setting means the oil flows slower, making the suspension compress or rebound slower. If you want to open up or make the suspension move faster, you just do the clicker in the other way and it opens up those holes or valves.
So we talk about clicks, and if you ever hear suspension people talk about clicks, it's the amount of clicks or turns you can go from all the way open to all the way closed. So think about that faucet spewing water out of that hose or completely shut off and it's not even dripping.
Okay, I'm starting to at least understand the 3 main adjustments we can make: preload, compression, and rebound. Time to head to the experts to see what they can do. Now, I know a lot of you guys are going to be looking at the 211 and thinking, doesn't this already have Öhlins? Why would you want to change anything? I thought the exact same thing, but just because a bike has great suspension does not mean it's set up for you. Most manufacturers set their bikes to a 150-pound rider, and while I'm working my butt off to lose weight, there's no way I can lose that much. I'm way outside the range of the stock suspension can even adjust for. That's why I reached out to Andreani USA. They're Italian suspension experts, some of the best in the business, and they happen to only be 3.5 hours hours away from me. So I figured, why not ride up there and let them dial this in? And yes, I'm riding up there in all of my Alpine Stars race gear because they need me to weigh as close as possible to what I'll be weighing on race day. And if you guys don't know, race gear is way heavier than regular gear. So guys, this is Andreani USA, and this is one of their lead suspension techs, David. He's been working in the motorcycle suspension space for decades. He's worked on race teams and even used to own his own suspension shop, so to say I'm in good hands is a massive understatement. The first things the guys at Andreani did was measure the sag, both static sag and rider sag. Okay, I'm gonna stop you right there real quick, because I imagine you, like me, are wondering, WTF is sag? So, the way I look at sag is the amount of suspension on the motorcycle that is used, and there's two different types. So there's static sag and there's rider sag. Static sag is what you're seeing right now. It's how much of the suspension is used under the weight of only the motorcycle. So the way you can test your front sag to check out that static sag is you pull it back on the kickstand until your front wheel is off the ground, and you can measure the full length of the suspension with no weight on it. Then once you get the bike upright and you get it off the kickstand, you sit there and hold it vertical, kind of like it is right now, and you can measure how much suspension you have left, and the difference there is how much static sag you have for the front. For the rear, you gotta find a spot on the tail and measure and all that kind of stuff, but that's how to do the front. Now, rider sag, as you would imagine, is the exact same thing, but with the rider on it. So basically, what we're looking at right now is static sag, and here we have rider sag. Obviously, I'm on the motorcycle, but something to keep in mind, guys, when you're measuring your rider sag, make sure to have all the gear on that you plan on typically riding in. For my scenario, I wanted my suspension to be set up for a race scenario, so I was wearing all of my race stuff. So when you guys are measuring it, make sure you're wearing all of the gear for the situation you want to set your suspension up in. Now, if you're watching this wondering what the hell is the rider sag supposed to be on my motorcycle, it's actually pretty easy to find, and I'll give you a couple options. One, you could check your rider's user manual for your motorcycle. It'll probably have that information in there, and you'll know that's for your motorcycle exactly. Or you can look it up online. I did a little online Googling and found two general zones you want to keep the bike in. This is obviously based on Google. If you want to have track riding specs, you're going to be looking at having 25 to 30 millimeters of rider sag. And then if you're doing casual riding, you're looking at having 30 to 33 millimeters of rider sag. And from what the guys at Andreani told me, millimeters really matter when it comes to suspension. So I know I'm bad about it when I'm doing measurements around the house, and I'm like, that's probably fine. This is not probably fine. Every little thing makes a massive difference when it comes to suspension. Now, you're probably asking yourself the same thing I was. If I only care about how the bike feels when I'm riding, why care about static sag? Here's the deal. Rider sag is the most important thing because it tells you how the suspension supports you, the rider. But static sag is like a quick health check for your springs. If it's way off, it means the spring rate isn't right, and you'll never get the bike set up properly no matter how much preload you add. That's actually exactly what happened on my Tuono. Even when the guys maxed out preload, the stock rear spring couldn't hold me in the right spot. The only fix was to put in a stronger spring so both me and the bike sat in the right range. Now, Joe did mention that I'm probably gonna need a stronger rear spring, and what we're specifically talking about is spring rate. You guys can think of spring rate as the amount of force it takes to compress one of these springs by a certain distance. The stock spring on my Tuono, a bike built for a 150-pound rider, is gonna have a lower spring rate. But because I'm a 225-pound rider, I'm gonna need a stronger spring, meaning one that has a higher spring rate in order to get the sag set properly. Now, once we got the rear sag correct, we moved to the front. Luckily, just a few small tweaks were enough to get it dialed in. One of the things the Andreani guys let me know that I didn't know was that the sag of your motorcycle and having that set correctly is the biggest deal when it comes to suspension.
Oftentimes people go and adjust the clickers before the preload and the sag, but the clickers respond to the sag and the preload and the springs. So you're gonna get less of an effect if we're not tuned in the range where the bike is balanced.
So it's
sag first before literally anything.
Yep,
Because otherwise you're adjusting something that's not right.
correct.
Everybody talks about compression and rebound, but those are more of fine-tune adjustments after you get your sag correct. So if you're rolling around with your sag wrong, you are never gonna get it right by just messing with the compression and rebound.
I really want to stress comfort and safety and consistency. Those are very important words for getting your suspension set up.
And for me, that means more confidence when I line up against 650 Ebe and Jake at NJMP.
So here's what you can do if you've never touched your suspension before. Step 1 is to check if you even have an adjustable suspension. What you're going to be looking for are little clicker knobs or little text on the top of your forks, or some are adjustable at the base. At the rear, you're looking for those little rotating collars or little knobs. A lot of entry-level motorcycles do not have adjustable suspension, and if they don't, that's totally okay. Step 2 is actually going to be recording your current setting so that at least you know where you're starting from. So what you need to do is go to whatever the setting you can adjust and make a note at how many clicks out that setting can do and write this stuff down. That way, if you start playing around with things and you get kind of lost in the settings, you can always get it back to how it was originally. Step 3, just like in this video, is the most important step, and that is setting your sag. This is going to be the most important thing to getting your bike as close to being balanced for you as possible. Now, once your sag is set, you're on to step 4, and that is making the small adjustments with your compression and your rebound. Tiny changes is what you want to make here. Go for a ride, test it, see how it feels, and then make small changes. Remember, don't make big changes because then you don't know how to quantify what changes did what.
So guys, now that we know how to adjust the suspension on the motorcycle, the question is, where are these adjuster things? The problem is it's going to be different on every motorcycle, but I'm going to run you guys through the Tuono so you guys know what to look for. So on the front, it might be here at the bottom, but on the Tuono, we have all of our settings on the top. So hopefully you guys can see, this is the top of the right fork leg, and at the bottom there, you can see REB for rebound. If we go to this side, you can see it says preload. Each fork has its own preload adjuster, which is this big bolt here on the outside. And if I wanted to adjust the rebound, I just need that little Allen in the middle. That's gonna adjust the rebound. If we go to the other fork leg, you guys can probably see it says compression right there. And then at the top, it says preload again. So the same thing, the big bolt on the outside or the big nut is going to be the preload. And that little Allen in the middle is gonna be the compression for the left side. Now, when it comes to the rear shock, this is gonna be your preload adjusters. So this is just a locking one. This, the tighter you go, is the more preload you're gonna be giving it. And then you just tighten this one up. Next up, my compression is this little clicker right here. I don't know if you guys can see, but it says H is to the left and S is to the right. That's gonna be hard is rotating it in this direction, soft is rotating it in that direction. Now, if I wanna adjust my rebound, it's at the very top of the shock. I would have to take this cover off, and it basically has a screw that I can just rotate right in there. I'm not gonna take the cover off, but you guys get it. Now again, that's on the Tuono 660, but you're gonna have to investigate your own motorcycle or look at your owner's manual or do everything everybody else does, get on your computer and look it up on Google.
Now, step 5 is, if you're at step 4 and absolutely confused, step 5 is where you find a local suspension shop, take your bike in, and get them to adjust it for you. Even one session at a suspension shop is going to make your bike feel like an entirely different motorcycle and will more than likely surprise you at how good the bike feels.
I am not exaggerating when I say getting your suspension set up will make it feel like a brand new motorcycle.
Also guys, big shout out to Andreani USA. I would not have been able to do this video without them. If you guys are looking to upgrade your suspension, they have drop-in fork kits that you can get for your bike if it doesn't have an adjustable suspension already. And if you're looking to upgrade components of your suspension, they are the place to go to. After these guys got my suspension right, I was blown away at how much better it felt, and they can literally do the same thing for your motorcycle. So give them a check out. I'll have a link for you in the description down below.
And guys, with that, the Tuono 660 factory suspension is dialed for me. Literally anybody else at a different height, it would not be right for them. This is set up for me only. The big question is, how is that suspension going to affect my performance when we finally, for the finale of the Aprilia Creator Grand Prix, take this thing to New Jersey Motorsports Park and I get it on track? What'll happen? I don't really know, but you guys are going to have to stay tuned, subscribe to find out. And guys, if y'all have never messed with your suspension, I have to tell you, I know it's kind of a scary topic and it's kind of hard to understand sometimes, but I will tell you guys from experience, it is one of the biggest differentiators you can do to make your motorcycle feel so much better. I highly recommend you guys either mess around with it yourself if you have an adjustable suspension, or find a local suspension shop, take your bike in, and get the sag set. If anything, I promise you, you're going to notice a huge change after that. You guys subscribe to find out what we do with this Tuono later on, and that's about it. I didn't know where I was going. All right, guys, y'all subscribe, like the video, do all the stuff. Wish me well. Did you find all the codes? Did you guys find all 6 codes that we put in this video? Make sure to put those in over at creatorgp.com. That way you guys can have the best chance at winning all of those freaking prizes. I'll see you guys on the next one. Team Chase, let's go.